There is a place, not here or there, but somewhere in between. There is a space in the thin air that really can be seen. If you listen and observe, you may be surprised. Some may call it Camelot or even paradise. Some may say you cross a bridge, others through a door. But all I know about this place is that I call it evermore. Evermore. Good evening, sweet spirits. Welcome to the show. My name is Suzanne Sorrell, and I'm the producer and host of the Evermore Paranormal Network. On this episode, we're doing something special. It's called a Ghost-A-Thon. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Larry Reclusado, and this is Heather Maxwell. And we'll be talking today about the various ways that we do cleansings, a little bit about banishment, a little bit about sealing your house against spirits, and other such things. How you doing today, Heather?
Hey, Larry.
All right. So first I wanted to talk a little bit about the various things you can do around your home that can help to cleanse it and or seal it against unwanted spirits. There are various things. One of the first things is saging all of the entryways, doors, windows, and so forth, that leads to the outside. This is very easily done. There's several places that you can get a saging kit. Heather, you like to use the shell?
I like to use the shell. There are various different means. You can use a kettle. There are various different kinds of that if you like something more shiny.
Yeah. Censer, basically like incense. I prefer white sage. Yourself?
I go along the same lines. This is currently white sage.
Hey, now, another couple of options you can do is sea salt. We like sea salt basically because it tends to be a much cleaner salt and tends to have a little more power to it, it seems, at least in my experience. Also, there's red brick. What other options are there, Heather?
Well, you can use a black salt. You can use some mixtures like you have over there that has various dirt from specific sites and herbs.
Okay. So there's that. In some of the other cultures I know, such as Hoodoo, they use red clay or brick, which is a very, very powerful way of sealing entryways. Now, we do a lot of banishings also, but let's just give you a little background also. I personally am a witch. I practice a combination of Celtic and Polynesian witchcraft. Heather is a shaman, and you do
more Native American with a little bit of Christianity and a little bit of Wiccan all mixed in there. Yes, I know that's a weird combination, but it does work.
Right. Now, I don't tend to do ritual anymore because I've gotten to a point in my life that I can visualize my rituals in my head and basically get the same type of power. Sometimes, however, I do have to go to ritual. Heather does like to do ritual.
I have to be holding something.
So let's go over a few of the items and some of the uses for them. Why don't we just start on the far end there?
Okay. This is a wand, like you would see in Harry Potter, but not quite. It has a crystal at the end, and I tend to be prone to deer, and I like the way it feels in my hand.
Yep. Wand also. This is the one I've been using lately. I am in the process of making one when my cat finally lets me have it back. So there's that. I like to make my own wands. This was a friend of ours made, and it's very useful, but when you put your own energy into something, it does tend to work better for you, it seems. What's your next item, Heather?
Next item, you had requested I brought this.
Your cauldron.
Yes.
Now, cauldrons are used for various things, including, of course, burning various herbs. Some will do incense in them. I don't like to combine the two.
We also have inside for burning incense and oils, it is a wire mesh so you don't ruin your cauldron.
Now, what I tend to do, I don't usually have a cauldron that's as nice as this one that has the nice little legs on it. So, I'll use a slate to make sure nothing gets burned on my altar. Now, one of the things that I've found, here you go, that I've found as useful for no matter what you're doing, in Catholic exorcisms, they would use a cross. Now, if you do use a cross, you need to use a cross with the corpus on it. The reason are basically the actual symbol of the Christ body on there. Otherwise, it's just a torture device. It's not the emblem of the death and resurrection that the Catholics like. That is why when you're using a cross as your symbol of power, you would use that. In Wicca, we would use the pentacle, our pentagram. Some people don't understand what this sign is, but basically it's just a symbol of power showing the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, water, and the 5th, spirit. Star of David for those of the Jewish faith, and so forth. Now, Heather, you don't use a bell very much in your rituals, do you?
No, in my rituals, I am prone to use a rattle. Depending on the situation, sometimes I use a deer leg. This is also a deer leg, but it has a turkey foot on the bottom of it.
And I will use the bell. Very often, you can use the bell to either entice spirits to come, if that's what you're looking for, or to drive them out. A mirror is also a good object to use. Now, I do not suggest trying any of this on your own without at least an in-depth study or having someone to instruct you. I do have a couple of books that I recommend just if you're getting interested in witchcraft. One is called The Solitary Practitioner.
Very good book.
By Tom Cunningham. And then there's a book called Power of the Witch by Laurie Cabot, who is the official witch of Salem. These are very good books that give you a basic information. Heather has a few shamanic books she also would suggest, but because we're limited on time, you can email us at darklonmystik@gmail.com. and I'll make sure you get an answer. Now, Heather, I know you have some like skulls here and some nice little figures. Can you explain those to me?
Okay. When I set up an altar, depending on the situation or what I'm dealing with, I like to have my totem animals available. Certain totem animals have different meanings. I tend to pick the ones that are closest to me by doing a totem reading, which I can do pretty much for anybody to specialize where your strengths are. Mine happen to be eagle, crow, lizard, bear, cat, and otter, which is represented by the skull. These I would put at the four corners of my altar to help to aid in what I'm doing.
Okay. Now, any altar, you'll usually find candles. Depending on what you're doing for a spell, you'll have different colors. Some people will etch things into the candles. I do that myself. But I'm going to just talk about banishings right now. When I'm doing a banishing, I like to have both a black and a white candle. This gives me both positive and negative energy that I can help redirect. What is your thoughts on that?
It's pretty much the same in my opinion. You need to have at least a white candle, a black candle. I like to have an earth candle, a green candle, because my energy comes from and goes into the earth.
Okay. I will, as I said, I would use the black and white candle, negative and positive. Also male and female, which is a very core concept in the Wiccan religion and most other witchcraft, because there's a duality and a balance. Now, what's the glass for today, Heather?
Well, some people like to use an athame.
Athame, black handled knife. This is used, I don't have them here because we don't like to bring anything that can be associated as a weapon into the studio, but the reason that we use a black handle knife, this is for the ritual, such as what we call cutting the circle. I like a dagger type. Some people like a single edge. It doesn't matter really. It's what you're most comfortable with. This is only used to do such things as cut a circle. This is basically means you're pointing it outward, walking around in a circle, and making an area that is safe for you to operate in.
Which you would do around your altar before you start anything you do.
Then we have the white-handled knife that we use. A white-handled knife, in my traditions, is used for cutting herbs, anything you need to cut and either burn or do something with. Sometimes if you're doing certain spells, you will burn a piece of paper with certain words in it, depending what the spell is.
Like, for example, if you have to prepare herbs for burning, you would use it to make the herbs smaller or cut the stems.
Right. Now, as far as banishments, there are really three levels that I will address. We have the easiest thing, which is a cleansing. This is basically you go through the house, you do the herb, you do the sage, some herbs, some of the salt or various things you're putting in the doorways to seal. Now, that's the easy one, and it usually drives anything out that's not a benevolent spirit. You also can allow benevolent spirits to stay. It's your decision. In a lot of cases, if you feel you have a spirit and you can just say, okay, hey, we both got to live here. You let me go about my business.
I let you go about yours.
Exactly. And, hopefully we'll get along. If you don't, I'll have to do something to take care of this. So at that point, then we can do a banishment. Now, banishment is what most Wiccans and shamans will do. Some other cultures have their own term for it. And amongst the Catholic Church, or even some of the other Christian religions, Protestant and so forth, they would call it an exorcism. It's pretty much the same thing, it's just done a different way. All you're doing is finding a way to direct both your own and whatever energy is in
The vicinity.
the air, the earth, the moon, wherever you draw your power from, to drive out any non-benevolent spirit.
Any spirit that wants to harm you, basically.
Are
He likes
malevolent.
to use big words.
Thank you. Now, then we have the hardest and the most dangerous. And never even try this unless you know what you're doing. You've been trained.
Call someone.
Definitely call someone. It's called a soul jar. What this is you basically take the spirit and you trap it inside a sealed container. Then you get rid of that container. Either bury it as deep as you can, or what I like to do,
On a property that is not yours, that you don't want to be anywhere near.
what I like to do personally is either find a nice piece of river and drop it in there, or take that and drop it in the middle of a lake. Someplace it's not getting out of.
Most spirits cannot go through running water.
Right. Then, now this is where I use salt, a few other things.
This is black salt.
But I will also use something a friend of mine made for me, which has various items in it. They call this my graveyard. It has graveyard dirt. It has snake skin for change.
Flowers.
Hmm?
Flowers.
It has some flowers in it, yeah. It has some moss in it. But the big thing I found in there is there's also some red clay. Again, spirits can't really cross the red clay. This is my working jar. There's nothing in here other than the things I just said. I would put this in a different jar or container if I was actually going to do a soul jar situation. Again, don't do that at home. Don't try it yourself. You will get in danger unless you know what you are doing. There are several covens I know of. There are several teachers out there. Find one if you can. If you can't, read before you do anything else. Heather?
I think you've covered most everything.
Okay. Now I did everything here. There are a few other items, of course, that we all can deal
You didn't
with.
really touch this scrying, though.
Oh, you want to talk about scrying? And also, let's talk about this. There are a lot of stones that you can use in both our cultures. These are hematite. I like to use hematite because hematite will absorb energy, especially negative energy. So I will usually carry one of these around in my pocket all day. She's seen them actually break on me, but
You've actually had one shatter.
it's rare. And was there a reason we brought the string?
I didn't know if you wanted me to talk about candle rituals.
We can talk about that in a little bit, but let's talk about the scrying stone you brought. So why don't you tell them what this is?
All right. This is a general pendulum. I mostly use it for talking with paranormal or ghosts. I hold it as I am now and ask a question. And it will, you know, forward, backwards, it will move in whichever direction the spirit wishes to tell me. Now, I didn't bring with me, but I normally have a paper that says yes, no, maybe, and various other things on it, and wait for the pendulum to swing in that general direction to get my answer.
Okay. She likes the pendulum because, well, both of us don't really like Ouija boards too much.
I will not go in a room with a Ouija board. I've had bad experiences.
We both have, basically. I've had things thrown at me, it seems, where there's been a Ouija board in the room, and the placard that's used, or planchette as it's called, will fly across the room and either at me or away from me.
One of the two.
Yeah. So I don't use Ouija boards. I have other ways of speaking to spirits, including the scientific and the electronic ones that you've seen with other guests on the show, such as an ovulus and a spirit box. Why don't you tell them a little bit about your candle rituals and your string, Heather, and then I guess we'll wrap up.
Okay, well, in some, I don't necessarily would use a white candle, but in some banishings, I have been known to use a handful of string, water, sand and or dirt, whichever is easiest, and put the candle connect the spirit with the candle, and then bind the candle. After you have bound the candle and the spirit to the candle, you put the candle in your cauldron and burn a candle all the way into your candle or your jar. This is my version of a soul jarring, which is basically once the candle has been burned into the jar, you put the lid on it and dispose of it the same way Larry has said.
So that's pretty much what we've dealt with. So we've told you a little bit about cleansing. We've told you a little bit about banishments. And we've told you what we call soul jarring. Again, each of these has their own levels. Cleansing almost anyone can do. When you get to the banishments, you need to know what you're doing, because things can attach to you.
And attack you.
And, oppress, and then once you're past oppression, they can go into possession. When somebody's possessed, it's dangerous for everyone involved. It is not a pretty sight, and it really, really is hard to remove a spirit from an individual. Then, again, we have the soul jar. Another time, that also, I will hardly ever do a soul jar without at least two other people.
Yeah. And you try to dispel the spirit by natural means before trying to soul jar it.
Last resort, always. And other than that, we are going to be wrapping this piece up. Again, my name is Reclusado.
Heather Maxwell.
If you need to get in contact with us, please just shoot us an email at darklymystik@gmail.com. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll hope to see you again very, very soon.
So thank you for watching the Evermore Paranormal Network. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ghost-A-Thon. Until next time, just remember, life goes on. Hello, sweet spirits. My name is Suzanne Sorrell. I'm the producer and host of the Evermore Paranormal Network. The Evermore Paranormal Network is a variety talk show that focuses on paranormal-related topics. So tune in to the Evermore Paranormal Network right here on Fairfax Public Access.
My
My journey skating for the gold taught me a lot, but my journey with breast cancer has been one of my greatest teachers.
Every woman's breast cancer is unique. Be Wiser educates and empowers women to take control of their breast cancer treatment plan and help navigate their own path beyond 5 years.
Talk to your doctor about information and tests to personalize a treatment plan that fits your needs. I did. Be informed, be wiser, support survivors like us.
Hi, my name is Jim Sorrell, and I'm the director.
And my name is Suzanne Sorrell, and I'm the producer and host of
Evermore Paranormal Road Trip. For our show, we travel all over Virginia and surrounding areas, filming and sometimes investigating at paranormal-related places, events, and/or haunted locations.
So far, we've had the pleasure of visiting a farm, metaphysical shop, antique mall, historic mansion, bed and breakfast, museum, wineries, cemetery, orphanage, historic landmark, private residences, as well as paracons and other special related events.
Evermore Paranormal Road Trip airs monthly on Channel 10.
In particular, our show airs on the third Wednesday at 3 a.m., the third Friday at 8 p.m., and the third Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
So please join us on our next Paranormal Road Trip.
Until next time,
Peace out.
Losing weight's a lot harder than gaining it, but with every step I lower my risk for type 2 diabetes and heart disease, and that makes every step very much worth the effort.
Learn how you can help stop diabetes. Visit checkupamerica.org or call 1-800-DIABETES.